All right, everybody. It's been a while. Welcome back to the Bull Spitting Podcast. I got my friend here, Mr. DeLeon. Are we giving full names here? Are we
Yeah, my name is Alfred DeLeon.
Alfred DeLeon? Okay. So, met this gentleman recently. I won't say where, but we've become pretty good friends. And he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and his whole story. Well, maybe not the whole story. Maybe a little piece of it. But anyways, Army Ranger. Um, 20 years? Was it 20 years that you served?
18.
18 years. Okay. Give us the rundown. Where you've been. You're from San Antonio as well? Yeah.
Yeah, so I originally was born in Southern Texas. Moved up here to finish school. Once I finished school, I decided to join the military, and my endeavors throughout there ended up taking me to what I consider the greatest time of my life.
Army, right?
Yes, sir, 100%. Army
So,
Green all the way.
so right now, I mean, it's controversial because we got a sailor sitting here. We got a soldier over there. But you know what? We're getting along just fine. All right. In high school, okay. So what was going through your head in high school? Like, kind of paint me a picture. Why did you end up joining the military, and why the army? Who influenced you to go into the army?
Well, to be honest, I think it actually happened down when it was 9/11. I remember I was either sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade. I can't remember that far back. But
Yeah, same here.
uh I was somewhere around there, and you know I didn't really know what was happening. I think around sophomore year or somewhere is when I started to realize, hey, I want to join some type of military branch, but didn't really know what. um my mom would help me and take me to go cut these people's grass, and I ended up meeting a retired two-star general from the Air Force, which I was doing his yard. His name was Alfred Oswald, and
I got the same first name as you.
man, it's just we're one of a kind, all over the place. So he ended up writing me a couple of recommendations to the Air Force Academy, which what I was planning on doing, like from the T, like, all right, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it.
So you were thinking Air Force at
I was
first.
thinking Air Force in the beginning, kind of comes to show that I guess I wasn't so smart for the Air Force. you know I didn't do so hot in the ASVAB for the Air Force, so it kind of kicked me back to the drawing board. And then it kind of it kind of took a weird turn. I remember seeing Mel Gibson's The Patriot, like,
Good movie. Good movie.
on repeat over and over and over. And I was a skinny kid back then, man. I must have been like maybe 155, 160 pounds back then.
Yeah.
I remember watching that movie on the edge of my bed doing dips. Like, I'm growing muscle with every dip that I'm doing. It's growing an inch with every dip, man. It was so. I had a good friend of mine, Ignacio Castillo, who was like, "Hey, you should join the army," and he kind of talked me into what he was doing. He was a combat engineer, which I thought was cool, but not something I wanted to do.
Engineers, for those that don't know, those are the guys that get the bombs, right? Or and build stuff, right?
Engineers will be something that be individuals that go out there and clear paths.
Right. Okay.
They can clear mines. They could obviously build things and be able to do it. They're not necessarily just bomb. They can be bomb diffusion experts going through a school called Sapper School. Um,
So that's like the special forces of the engineers, then.
Not necessarily. It's just being able to have an identifier, just like the Ranger tab is an identifier that you're qualified to do it. To be an actual bomb diffuser, you will have to be an EOD.
Copy. Okay. So you didn't want to do that.
No, so I decided to. Man, I remember I told the guy I want to be frontline infantry. Like, that meant
Wanted to
something.
get some, huh?
I wanted to get some without knowing what I was asking for. So the guy, he's like, all right, let's go. He asked me how long I wanted to join for, and I knew this was going to be a crucial part of my career, just because He had told me you could do 3 years. You could do 3 years minimum at active duty service. So I really wanted to take this seriously. I don't want it just for it to be something just, hey, I'm just here to, fuck off and waste money and whatever. I want something out of this for real. So I figured 6 years will be enough time for me to say I like it, I don't like it, and let me go on and continue this or I don't. Right after I did my first 6 years, man, it felt like the first
Yeah.
it went by quick,
Quick. Yeah.
and I got stopped with you know, right at my 5 year mark. Time to reenlist or not. And I think this kind of happens a lot with people. I think, or maybe it just happened to me. I don't know. I'm kind of speaking for myself right now, but I liked what I was doing,
Mhm.
but I would have been happy to walk away from it. But I believe that the change of scenery, just the change, scared me. So I got it in my head that that was the best thing I could ever do, and I love my job that much. So I reenlisted for another 6 years because and I can be honest with myself now. I think I was afraid to of the change. What happens when? Don't mind my rooster.
Yeah, yeah. I was
No,
gonna say. I
don't
wonder if
mind
we
my
got that one
rooster.
in there. We got the Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's my rooster, Macho Man Randy Savage. Um, you know, I just think that the idea of changing a sceneries and not having Uncle Sam, essentially have my back with everything. Because I mean, as you know, you get there and you're a single person, you get BS, or
Hmm.
I'm sorry, BS taken away from you. You got your barracks room, you
Yep.
got your chow hall. You don't really have to worry about too much. You get your little paycheck. I mean, fuck, I don't remember back in the day, but I think back in the day when I was a young private, I must have been making like, I don't know, like $800 every 2 weeks, if that, maybe, I don't know, somewhere on there.
Hmm.
You know, by the time I was a specialist, I was like making 12 every 2 weeks. I want to say, I remember when I made E5, that was a huge, huge jump, or so, or no, I can't remember, but it's somewhere. I made a huge jump from E4 to E5 was a big, big jump, and then E5 to E6 was a fairly good sized jump, and so on and so forth. It was, it wasn't as drastic as that E4 to E5.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the same thing with me too. I mean, with my experience, because as some of you may know, maybe not all of you, but I also served. I was a corpsman in the Navy, which is translates into medic with the Marines. Um, and for the Navy specifically, all the MOSs in the Navy, the hospital corpsman is the biggest MOS in the Navy. And the toughest jump is from E4 to E5. For us, I know it's not that way with a lot of other MOSs out there, but at the time it was like a gauntlet trying to get there. I ended up when I did my 6 years, I got out as E4, and I think I had tried for E5 maybe 3 or 4 times before I got out, and I never got it. So, but anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
all right. Yeah, it's good stuff to know, man, because I had no idea about that either.
Yeah.
you know, the Navy's the only branch for me that's very confusing with 7 different uniforms, 4 different dress uniforms.
Yeah.
Ranks are just wazoos.
Yeah, did you and for those of you that don't know out there, like the Navy ranking system is very different from all the other branches, like the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines, especially when it comes to the officer rankings. They're all the same with those other three, but
The
in the Navy,
insignias are the same. It's just the
yeah,
names are different.
yeah, because and I looked this up, and I was kind of curious myself, like why is it like that? And it's actually because we adopted the officer ranking system from the British Navy, and we just kind of kept it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, that's how our Navy got created.
It
So
all
uh,
happened at the Tea Party. No.
I mean, they attack one merchant ship, so we decided to create our own.
I'm gonna tell you
And
right now, if I was there, I would be like, "Don't let all that tea go to waste, baby. Come on, let's save some for me."
I would say that that's all that mattered. And now we're the biggest fuck around and find out Navy in the world.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So God bless the God bless America while it's still standing. You
I'm
know
so
what I
sorry.
mean?
I don't mean to curse.
Yeah, you good? No, you're good. Hey, this podcast, you can let it fly, all right? Because
Okay.
in my on my channel, it's for adults only. I'm sorry, kids.
If not, we'll just put a big old
Yeah,
bull spitting right
yeah,
in front of the mic as I'm saying it or something.
exactly.
So but yeah, man, I deployed quite a few times, and each experience was different. There's there's just so much I took away from that. I had broadening assignments, and at first I wasn't too crazy about them, but looking back on them, I actually enjoyed them a lot more. Specifically, so more being a drill sergeant.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a really really good time for me.
that must have been fun because
That
I know that I had. I mean, I feel like most people would consider doing something like that. I know I definitely considered it, but I didn't like seriously consider it. I just kind of thought like, I wonder if I could do that because I feel like that for me personally, it would be. I'm sure for a lot of people too. It's kind of like being able to tap into a personality that maybe you kind of is just really dormant, and maybe for some people, it's kind of like you get to be who you really want to be. You know?
um, I think you have some kind of certainty there during the 9 weeks of drill sergeant school at Fort Jackson, where you go. Um, you could definitely find out. It's really easy to find out who's on a power trip. Um, they tend to really, really show off
Yeah.
extremely hard. Not that that's anything wrong with that. I mean, if that's who you are, that's who you are, right? I'm not going to fault you for you know trying to take the power there that's instilled upon you.
Yeah. For enjoying your work, right?
I think there's a fine line between enjoying it and then abusing your power.
Mm.
And I mean, I think everybody has a moment where they abuse their power in some way, shape, or form. I'm guilty of it. I've never met a person who's never said, whether a non-commissioned officer and senior non-commissioned officer, that said I didn't abuse my power in one way, shape, or form even for the littlest of things. If I've never met anybody, and I challenge anybody who says that, you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're 100% a liar. Whether it's you used to get that extra couple minutes of sleep, or to get out a fire guard, or to do a detail you didn't want to do, big or small. I mean, hopefully nobody did it for nothing big, but generally little small things.
Yeah.
Everyone's abused their power in some way, shape, or form, whether they realize it or not. Like I said, I'm guilty of it. I've done it before too, man.
Yeah. Well,
um
we're all human, man, and I feel like anybody. There's nobody that's uh, just clean, like pure. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, the greatest things that I found being in the military, being an 11 Bravo, was leading the guys,
And
leading
11
them.
Bravo is
It's an infantryman.
all right. So infantry. All right. So infantry is pretty much the guys out there that are doing what people imagine when they join the military, right? The trigger
So,
pullers,
yeah, a basic infantryman. He is the world class warfighter. He is the guy that's going out there on presence patrols, on KLEs, which stands for key leader engagements. Conducting raids, conducting ambushes. We're literally in the front line,
laying it on the
pushing
line
back
every day.
on the enemy to continue to gain ground, and our AO standing for area of operation, to be able to expand and complete the mission that was set upon us by the theater commanders, and so on and so forth. With that, then you got echelon levels of infantrymen that you can become. From a basic infantryman, you could become after that you got like Army Rangers, become tab to one of the three battalions in the in the regiment. Then you can, in the tier two side of the house.
Can I
Me,
ask, can I ask you something?
go for
All right. So
it.
how do you break it down? Okay, because you got regiments, battalions, platoons, squads, right? Like
Personnel count?
Yeah, the person. There you go. That's what I wanted
Okay,
to say.
so in a platoon, a regular infantryman platoon would generally consist of 44 guys with attachments at most. Um, Obviously, with the higher echelon of tiers that you go up, that number starts to dwindle down because you're more specialized. You become a master of what you do. But we'll stick to just bare basics. A basic infantry platoon will be 44 guys with attachments. Um, then there's 3 platoons in a company. There's
Okay.
generally a headquarters element,
Attached
not
to
a
it.
real. It's a headquarters element within the company. That's, I mean, hate me or like hate it or love it. It's generally made up of all the broke dicks. Prove me wrong. It's generally made up of all the broke dicks, or people that are just not either
Yeah.
they've been and fired or some shit. But it's generally made up of
People that can't.
not so hot personnel. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Not so hot personnel, um, and being ran by, I guess, the head broke dick, which is,
Yeah.
generally an E6 at the bare minimum, but not an MTOE position. Again, prove me wrong. Um,
So then and so on after that,
so
it's
yeah, so then
company,
you
regiment.
got
How
your
many companies in a
in a
regiment
company and
or
will be a
battalion, right?
battalion, right?
Yeah.
So there's so you have your HAC, your Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Back in the day, you used to have an Echo company, which was your engineers attached to it,
Oh.
right? But I want to say somewhere along the lines of 2011 to 2012, they did away with that, and the engineers just became their own battalion. Just got opcon to whatever battalion they were getting attached to, or they just tagged along for the fun. But essentially, you just have your HAC, which essentially has your specialty platoons,
Mhm.
your scouts, your snipers, um, maybe a platoon of infantry guys. Then you got your Alpha company again with your 3 platoons, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and that makes a battalion. And then there's 4 battalions in a brigade, 4 brigades in a division. So when we're talking about regiments, regiment is just one regiment. Within the regiment, there's 3 battalions, right? So
Mhm.
there is a 4th RRC, the Regimental Reconnaissance Company, but that is like the tier one. That's the tier one side of the house.
Let me go back real quick. I'm sorry. So the brigade is made up of what exactly again?
4 battalions,
4 battalions is a
if not
brigade.
sometimes 5, because sometimes the aviation battalion, or I'm sorry, the aviation brigade is kind of attached to it sometimes.
And then the regiment is a step higher.
So regiments is actually a step below,
Oh,
right? So
okay,
a
okay.
regiment is it's a small group of people, right? So it's the 75th Ranger Regiment is not the only one. So you also got the 173rd Airborne Regiment, right?
Okay.
So it's just to say it's just more condensed. It's just
It's a
I
smaller unit than the
it's a
brigade.
smaller unit, and
Because
there's not many regiments, right? So there was a lot of regiments, but obviously with having to cut down sizes, they actually cut down. So uh, in retrospect, with how come there's not a division of Rangers compared to, like, let's just take for instance the 82nd, you know, Airborne Division, just because it's a tier 2 unit and it's more specialized. So think about Rangers being the top 1% of all grunts, and
okay.
then they put them into a specialized unit where they just are absolute masters at their craft. They're masters at raids. They're masters at airfield seizures. They're masters at conducting ambushes. They're masters at patrol. And then what happens from there? You want to become a tier 1 level person within the regiment, you try out for RRC, Regimental Reconnaissance Company. Now the 1% of 1% that was there tries out, and then if you happen to make it, shout out to all the guys at RRC. That I mean, to me, that make you one badass motherfucker.
So were you not a part of RRC?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not. Cool guys, fucking awesome dudes.
What
Fucking
what does RRC stand for again? Sorry.
Regimental Reconnaissance Company,
Regimental Reconnaissance Company.
and
So that's like the top tippy top of the
in the
Rangers.
Ranger Battalion. That's the
Okay.
tier 1 side of the house, right? So generally, the path that Rangers generally take after they're tenured there, it's either very few guys go to Green Beret selection, go to SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection,
Mhm.
but many guys go and take the long walk, which is CAG selection, or what people know as Delta Force, the unit selection.
Gotcha.
They go to unit selection, and many guys actually from Ranger Bag end up going there and take that because we work hand in hand with them a lot.
Delta Force. I met one Delta Force guy when I was cleaning this one data center. His name, God, first name was Dan. I remember that. This dude was jacked, bro. He was jacked, and he was tanned, like he's been on the beach all his life, man. He looked like kind of like a Jason Momoa type or some shit, dude. All tatted up and everything. Man, he was real cool too, man.
Those guys are one of the coolest dudes you could ever meet. I've met a couple dudes, and it's always I've always asked like, hey, what does it take to be there? And it's not. I never once got, hey, you need to be the strongest person you got. It's always I always got the same answer: do the best you can. Do the best you can. It's all I ever got. Just go and do the best you can. You're by yourself, so do the best you can. So that only, trying to war game that a little bit. They're not looking for the strongest guy. They're looking for the right guy. I mean, I've heard stories about having 100 people twice a year, and that's what they do. They have 2 classes a year, 100 people go. The attrition rate is 90%.
God bless.
So
90%.
attrition rate. So it's really,
So if 100 people show up, 10 people graduate or move on.
well, they at least make it. Just because they make it doesn't necessarily mean you got selected.
God,
They make it to the end. So, I've heard of classes where guys don't they make it and nobody gets selected. I heard of guys getting like ones,
wow.
twos. Very
Really?
rarely does 4 guys get picked up in one spot.
Really? Like there's been classes or
I've heard stories.
really
I've heard stories
where
that
they're just like, well,
try
I guess
again
we'll
next
try.
time. we'll call you next time.
Jeez.
And the unit is by far my personal opinion. I know that I'm gonna get a lot of blowback from SEALs here, but to me, the unit is the best special operations tier 1 side of the house. Period, point blank, bar none. Because we do take from every other branch, from the Navy, and there's been several Navy SEALs, several fucking Dev Group guys that came over. They've been several SEALs that came over. They've been, obviously a bunch of Rangers, depending on what squadron you go to, whether A squadron, B squadron, C squadron, or D squadron. So, there's that. So, I do 100% bar none. We do. I think the Army side of the house and tier 1 side is the best, 100%.
All right. Well, I know nothing about this, so I'm not gonna chime in on this. You're kicking me.
Bias.
You're kicking me in the nuts with that Navy SEAL stuff, though. I'm telling you right now, man.
Hey,
But you know what? I'm taking it. I'm taking it. All right.
Possibly biased. I'm just possibly biased. I could be biased just because I was in the Army. So
yeah. Fun fact about me is when I joined the Navy, I specifically joined the Navy because I wanted to do SEALs. That never really happened though, for reasons I won't really get into. It's lengthy, but just know that I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and this guy is shitting on my heroes right now.
I mean, SEALs are okay. They're not bad. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying we're better.
All right, copy
Just
that.
saying the Army's better. That's
Well,
all I'm saying.
Again, I can't say anything because I don't really know much about the Army Rangers or any other branch for that matter. I know a little bit about the what was it, MARSOC, Force Recon,
MARSOC, Raiders.
Yeah, I actually sat down. Well, okay, my first deployment, I sat down and had lunch with this one He was with Force Recon while we were in country, and I was just kind of like picking his brain because I'm just like, hey, how is it out there, man? And this guy was so like exactly like what you said, like just cool, calm. Like he wasn't like cocky or anything like that. He was just telling me, hey, man, I'm just another guy, man. And I was like, but you got like all this, you got all this experience. You got that thing on your chest, like.
That's actually funny you said that. Just because you have everything on your chest and it looks cool doesn't necessarily mean that you know what you're doing. And I have a story to kind of fall on that. In my last deployment in 2019, we were attached to 7th Group. I won't say the name of which group it was, but it was the 7th Group. Their Zulu was fucking outstanding. Their Zulu was 100. I mean,
What do you mean by Zulu?
their Zulu. So in a Green Beret world, Zulu will be each one of them has an identifier which lets them know who it is, right? So the Alpha will be the captain generally, and is the team leader. Generally a captain. Sometimes he can be a warrant officer, but it's generally always a captain. That's the team leader, Alpha. The Foxtrot is intelligence, the right hand man of the Alpha. Your Zulu will be your team sergeant. Then you got your Bravo, your weapon sergeant, your Charlie, your engineer sergeant, your Delta, your medical sergeant, and your Echo, your communication sergeant. Right? And then if you think about that, that's 6 guys. So generally an ODA or Operational Detachment Alpha, they're consisted of 12 guys. So if there's 6, each one of those special assets contain 2 people. There's 2 Bravos, 2 Charlies, 2 Deltas, 2 Echoes. We were doing an operation where we were going to go clear a certain AO further north, from where our position was. And we were doing what is called walkthroughs, just kind of like rehearsals of how we were planning on conducting this operation. And within that planning, there was a compound that we needed to clear. Obviously, with us being attached, they were taking lead, so we were giving them the opportunity to actually go through the process. Well, their lead Bravo, which is their lead Bravo, was tasked out to do something else. So he gave their junior Bravo, hey, go brief the plan. And I remember me and my squad were there, and we were actually going through it, and everyone was gathering around, and as he was briefing it, I kind of noticed that he was kind of like shaky on it or whatever, right? As he was prepping for the brief. And again, nothing against Green Berets. They're good dudes also, right? But I had asked him, I was like, hey man, you all right before the brief? I was like, oh man, I just learned this 2 weeks ago. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? What'd you learn 2 weeks ago? Oh, I just learned BD6, which is a Battle Drill 6, entering clearer rooms. It's like, I just learned this 2 weeks ago. What the fuck are you doing here then? Like, what the fuck? You want us to take over? Because, I mean, we've been doing this shit like day in and day out since fucking basic. Like, what the fuck is going on
Like,
right
hold
now?
on, you're leading this. You're
right. So obviously, the guy, his senior for the team sergeant, used to be a Marine. So he brought a lot of experience. That guy was just brand new off Q course. He just graduated Q course and he got sent to us in country, so to fill in a spot. So nothing against him, right? It was just a situation he kind of got put in, and he had to trial under fire, and it worked out. It worked out great. It didn't nothing bad happen really, other than a couple shitheads dying, but it worked out great. But just like I said, just because you see somebody with something great doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
right?
maybe they, kind of.
It could be new. Like I said,
Yeah.
not saying that he was a fucking dirtbag. He just got put into a position to where he had to, what I like to call, he had to grow up a little faster than he wanted to.
Yeah.
He had to be a little bit more mature faster than that.
So you guys got him green.
I mean, well, not us. 7th Group got him green. They got him green. But you know what? He was surrounded by a really, really well tactical tactically and technically proficient guys where they caught him up to speed relatively quickly. And again, there's Zulu. Man, that guy was the coolest dude ever, man.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to him, I felt like I was talking to like a fucking soprano or something.
Damn.
Like,
Yeah.
the guy
Tony.
was his name was Nick.
Uh-huh.
His name was Nick. I won't say his last name, but
Good old BDN, huh?
so I won't say his last name, but his name was Nick. Old dude, maybe mid 40s, late 40s or so. It's just like, dude, it was like talking to fucking like somebody off The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Like the conversations we would have, it would be hilarious. And it was great though. He was a good dude, man. Again, I never take off anybody. I never thought that, hey, I know it all, because everyone has a different walk of life. He obviously knew something I didn't know, and then I have something to offer him as well. And that's how I take everybody's knowledge. Just like you could teach me a couple of things too, just like I could teach you a couple of things or two.
Hmm.
And that just adds to my repertoire. So the more I know, it kind of prepares me for whatever life throws my way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because I definitely, speaking for myself, I feel like I have quite a mixed bag of skills that haven't really capitalized on, making a fortune on yet. But one day, one day.
Just my career was great, man. I enjoyed every bit of it. I met some great people along the way. Man, I've had some good leaders. I've had some bad leaders, but I learned from everyone.
Yeah.
There is one particular leader I do want to give a big shout out to, Brian Kinchin. I mean, I don't know if he watches, but if he happens, retired Lieutenant General. Correction. Whew, Lieutenant Colonel, not Lieutenant
Whoa!
General.
Oh man.
Lieutenant Colonel. I'm sorry. I almost shit the bed there. Lieutenant Colonel out of bat. By far the best commander I've ever had. The guy was prior enlisted.
Oh, those are always the best. Then
He was a
those are always the
prior
best.
enlisted man.
Those are always the best officers. Telling you right now, folks.
Yeah, prior enlisted guy. I believe he was a mortarman, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so he jumped over to be an officer. Wanted to be in Ranger Bat. The man set it out. Wanted to be the first battalion commander, the first African American battalion commander that Bats ever had.
Oh shit.
And
Hold on.
I hope he did.
Really?
He wanted to be the first African American battalion commander that battalion ever had. I didn't really keep up with him too much. I hope he got it, but man, that man was, man, that dude was not big. He was slim, strong like steel.
Yeah. All lean muscle, huh?
Lean,
Just
absolutely. I mean,
lean and mean.
I swear that man was not born. He was absolutely created. Somebody jizzed in the fucking petri dish and had a chemical reaction and created a man named Brian Kinchin.
Yeah. Yeah, they say that man didn't even have a mother. He was born out of a man.
I don't know. That man was one hell of a dude, man. And you know what? And I won't lie. At first, the tempo that he had us going on was 100% like, what the hell? This is too fast. It's like, but and he told us too. It's like, I know this is high tempo, but you guys will thank me at the end. The tempo that we set, the amount of ground we got from the moment we got to that deployment, and I'll actually talk about this in 2012, and that deployment down in Kandahar, in a Panjwai district, in a place called Spurwangar. There's actually a book that's been written about it, The Lions of Kandahar, where an SF team were on this very hill. It was extremely, extremely dangerous in this place. The threat for pressure plate IEDs was very far. I don't remember exactly the distance, but they said about almost every couple. Don't quote me on this, but every couple yards, feet or so, meters, there's another pressure plate. It was super prevalent for pressure plate IEDs there.
Damn.
And we didn't have a whole lot of room to actually to breathe. It was just us on top of this hill, and we had to push back. And the tempo we were going off of this, it was, man, it was like him commanding us and pushing the tempo that he set us. We got so much ground to where, I mean, not to say nothing bad didn't happen right out the front gate, because I mean, obviously some shit like that happened too. But uh, it gave us a lot of ground that we can push back. But with the ground we gained, we also took a lot of casualties too, right? So that particular deployment is near and dear to my heart because in my platoon, only 12 of us were the original people that came back, that didn't get hurt, that didn't quit at the very end. I actually have a picture that I keep with me from that particular deployment. And I'm still very good friends with everybody. That deployment had to be the one that I also got my Valor Award out of. And you know, this it's actually really, really cool to think back on it. And
Oh wow. Oh my bad.
so good.
Yeah.
So man,
Is that you right there?
that is me right there.
All right.
Young guys. Now,
Man.
granted, that guy, Brian Luxmore, rest in peace, ended up dying 3 weeks later.
Talking
But
about the one here with the shades?
with the shades, yeah, he ended up dying 3 weeks later. But you know, God rest his soul, and you know, good things would happen to his family, and I hope good things happen to his family. But that deployment meant a lot to me, and to be able to have the amount of people that I'm still close to after years of not talking to them is amazing. I mean, I have a friend right now that I haven't talked. I mean, we still talk on a regular basis, but we haven't seen each other, well, obviously since October, but prior of last year October, and we went like 7 years without seeing each other. Still talk like we're brothers, like nothing.
And how long were you in that unit with those men?
Those guys, we were in theater for 9 months.
So you knew them for 9 months? Or you knew them?
No.
beyond that?
I knew those guys for years. We were only in theater. That deployment only lasted about 9 months. I knew those guys for like years.
Like most of your career, would you say?
No, I wouldn't say most of my career.
Half of it.
I would say maybe about a year and some change, maybe closer to 2 years leading up to the training. There was a few guys that we got like last minute just to get us caught up on a person, to get us maxed out on personnel. Right off the top of my head, Jeffrey Mahoney. He's also, well, I don't know if he's still in right now, but last I heard, he was a Green Beret.
Oh, nice.
You know, we're doing whatever he's doing. So again, hope you're doing great. My man Manny Mora, you know, that dude was absolutely sick in the head, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a video that I can actually show you where I was walking in front, a guy behind me was Klein, and I was clearing the way, a path for us. And we're in a grapevine, and I happen to crease up the top of a hill. And for some reason, Manny is a fucking eagle eye. So, holy shit, they grab me, they yank me back. The rounds start coming. They pull me back from getting fucking shot. The first thing Manny goes is like, hey, is my camera on? And then Klein tells him, yeah, it's on. And he goes, and as loud as he can, shoot at D, will you motherfuckers? And starts letting off a barrage of 40 Mike.
Damn.
And it's just doof, doof, doof,
Oh,
just shooting
man.
it everywhere.
Spraying
Fucking,
freedom
he's
everywhere.
He's just throwing 40 Mike. I'll show you the video to that.
Oh, okay.
But he was just like, "Well, shoot at D, what you motherfuckers do?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Right? And I mean, that guy had my back in so many ways.
So
It's not even funny. Like so,
so what he's talking about for those viewers that don't know, well, he's talking about 40 Mike. He's talking about 40 millimeter grenade rounds, and there's the Mark 19. I don't know if that's what he was using.
at the time, no, we he was using M320.
M320. Is that a machine
It's
gun?
no M320 is a grenade launcher that's modified. You could be it's a multi-purpose grenade launcher. You're able to use it with your handheld, or you're able to just slide it up underneath your M4 carbine
Okay.
and as an attachment, as an underneath attachment. It's what replaced the M203.
Okay, copy that. So launching grenades from under the barrel of a assault rifle. That's man. I always wanted one of those the M4s with the 203 attachment.
You want it till you're actually into a fight, then that thing gets absolutely heavy. You're like, man, fuck this.
That's valid. See, I wouldn't even think of that.
I would tell you, Manny, I think I still have a picture of it. Manny would not only go out with a full bandolier, a 40 Mike, a full bandolier, which is a little waist bells you can put on. I believe was holding, Jesus Christ, man, maybe, maybe on the verge of 15 rounds. Manny
15 rounds.
and then one little bandolier belt. Manny will go out with three of those things. One around his waist, two more in his 3-day ruck. I mean, Manny looked 100%. If we're gonna go to war and we're gonna stay out there, Manny looked like that every single time. And this is from a man that does not have any toes on his feet. Not that he lost them; he was born that way. My
Really?
respects towards that man,
Oh man,
Manny Emmanuel Mora. He's out now doing great things as a welder, but that man was
he was
if
war.
if you want anybody to have your back in a foxhole, he's one of my top 10 people I want to have on my side. That guy would always, it didn't matter how heavy that pack was. I'm bringing this. His primary weapon was not his M4, was the 20, was the 320. That was his primary weapon.
I like him.
He
I
was like, "Yeah,
like
I'm
him.
using this." And you know what? And I get it. It brings down the weight of what you have to. It makes you lighter. So I don't blame him for shooting all that 40 Mike.
Yeah.
Plus the margin for error, it's a little
Yeah.
bit greater. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're gonna go shoot from here to the Christmas tree over there and
Yeah.
you happen to hit the
Yeah. Well, he's around here somewhere.
yeah,
Bam.
the margin of error is greater for that. So but yeah, he's a fucking outstanding dude. Another guy that we got last minute for that deployment. But I mean, the dude was great. He was a great editor. He edited a let me see if I can pull it up. A montage. We had a guy named Ronnie Morgan who came up to us maybe shortly after this was like, "All right, guys, we got them right where we want them, all around us." And we just started laughing. And we're like, "Well, fuck, pick a direction. They're all around us anyways. Pick a direction to shoot, and you'll find somebody."
Very nice. So let me ask you a question here,
Absolutely.
and it's gonna be personal.
Go for it.
So, what do you think about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan? Was it a mistake that we were there?
Um, you know,
Was it worth it?
I'll answer that this way. Was it worth it for the right reasons? To be honest, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little, you know, didn't really care about the research that was going on, but I didn't. I don't know. I can't tell you if it was the right move to make. But what I would say is it was absolutely the right move for me to get the experience of what I wanted to learn how to do and how to do it in the military and do it to the highest level as possible. So, was it worth it for me? Fuck yeah, it was. Right? For the overall mission and goal for us to be there, um, I just didn't really pay attention. Uh, you know that old saying, that's above my pay grade?
Yeah,
It's above my pay grade.
copy that. And fair enough. Yeah, because I mean, I guess my opinion on it is,
I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of point in the direction of we shouldn't have been there.
yeah,
Um, but maybe we could, maybe we did need to be there. But at the end of the day, I wasn't getting paid to make those decisions. I was just a soldier following orders. You know, obviously they weren't sharing all their information with us and why they did it.
mhm,
So not saying that it was a good or bad thing, but I've always believed blind leading is not necessarily the best thing to do.
yeah.
Or you're just a blind follower. It's always best to be well informed on what you're wanting to do or your decisions.
I just remember, much like yourself, when I joined, a large part of it was because of 9/11. I was pissed off and I wanted to go get some. I wanted, I wanted to avenge America. That's how I felt. A large part of me, not all of me, but a large part of me. And then others were personal reasons. Wanted to get out of San Antonio, wanted to travel the world, and then also, a small part of me was like, in case I want to go to college later, I have that. Pretty much everything that the recruiters threw at me, I ate up.
And that's just, and I think that you should definitely follow some type of model like Israel do. Everyone does at least 2 years,
I
2 or 3
agree.
years. I don't
I
know what it is.
I think it's 2 years. Yeah, I
two
agree
years in the
wholeheartedly with that. Yeah.
military, and it because I mean it teaches you discipline. It teaches you good work ethics. Now, granted, does it stick to everybody? No, right? And I mean, I must have had a bunch of people when I came to our town tell me, "Hey," every time I'll come back to visit my mom or my brothers or sister, they're like, "Hey, how was it? Is it hard? Is it hard? Is anything you've done hard?" And I mean, I've always answered them the same question. It wasn't hard for me, but I think that it wasn't hard for me mainly because I went in there with a mindset of there's nothing that is gonna happen that I can't do, no matter what. I'm not gonna die. They're not gonna try to kill me. Um, there's nothing that I can't do. And just like I don't know how your basic training was, but for me, anything that the drill sergeants were asking of me to do, they demonstrated before. Same thing when I was a drill. Everything that I asked my soldiers to do, my privates to do, I always demonstrated first. And I think then it's when I was like, okay, nothing is impossible to do. I may not be strong enough. I may not have the endurance, but it's possible to do it. It's not impossible. And I do try to tell these younger people that want to go in when I say I'm a big advocate for joining the army. I should be getting paid for this shit. You
Should have
know?
been a recruiter.
Nah, I mean maybe not, man. Not that crazy, but I should be getting paid to be doing this, right? But I'm a bit advocate for the army. I always try to tell people, hey, this the army is something good to do. I may not agree with the direction the army's taking, which was one of the reasons why I felt like it was my time to pass already, because the direction that the army was taking, I didn't agree with. I'm pretty sure when I was a young man too, um, leaders then they didn't agree with the direction uh, the army was taking. Just because and again, give kudos to all the guys that came before me. The Vietnam guys were the reason why I wanted to join. The 9/11 dudes. I saw those badass motherfuckers do it. It's like, man, and nobody, and you know how it is. The older guys, us being the older people now, you're like, oh man, you guys have excuse me, you guys have it soft. Back in my day, blah blah blah. Same
Yeah,
thing that was
every
happening,
generation says that before about the next one.
back
Yeah.
in my day, and I get it, man. Think about it. In World War II, they were playing life tag with 30-06. We're just doing it with 7.62, and we have IBAs or IOTVs or play carriers or whatever you're rocking back in the day. They just had flak vests. 9 out of 10 times, not everybody had plates. And a 30-06 will go right through that. And flamethrowers.
Oh, the flamethrowers.
Think about it.
Eesh.
Those are some true hard motherfuckers.
And they got rid of napalm too. You know.
Damn. So I always give thanks to the people that laid the path to make it easier for me to be successful in my career. So not saying that everything that I did was like a cakewalk, because it definitely took a lot of discipline, a lot of study, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But without them paving the way, I don't think I would have been as successful as I was.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything else you wanna put out there? You wanna say?
Oh yeah. So kind of want to turn the tables on you a little bit.
Okay.
I want to ask you a few things, because not very often do I have the pleasure of meeting and being friends with, very good friends with, a former Navy guy. So why the Navy?
Well, specifically because I wanted to do SEALs. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. That was my main objective. And the recruiter, like, when I went to the Navy recruiting office, I already told them, "Hey, I want to be a SEAL." Blah blah blah. And he was like, "Okay." And he told me, he laid it out for me, the requirements and everything, which I knew that coming into it, because at the time I had really thick glasses. Like, I mean, I needed glasses since like the first grade.
Did
So
you have
like,
the BCGs?
I did have the BCGs, and probably some of the thickest ones in in boot camp. So going into it, my recruiter made it very clear. I know a lot of people have these horror stories of their recruiter, but mine was actually very good. He was a very good recruiter, Mr. Abraham Garcia. If you're watching, appreciate you. You were awesome. But he was a straight shooter with me from the get go, and so he had told me, he's like, yeah, he's like, you can do SEALs. He's like, but your your vision's gonna keep you out. He's like, but if you sign up, you do like a tour or a duty or whatever. After that, you can get LASIK. You can, or I don't know if he told me all that, but he told me once I get it corrected, then I'm eligible to go. So I was like, okay, sweet. So I ended up swearing in. Was it January or February of 2003? I want to say it was January, and I was still finishing out my senior year in high school. And but I told him, I was like, okay, yeah, let me give myself a good amount of time to get in shape, because I know this isn't going to be no joke. So I ended up leaving for boot camp in December, so I did give myself almost exactly a year. And during that time, I was like I was running about 5 miles almost every day, if not every day. I was going early before school and swimming for about an hour, while the water polo team or whatever was doing their thing. I was swimming. Like, yeah, yeah. I had nothing to do with them. I was just there sharing the pool while they were.
Part of the
Well,
Navy?
no. This was in high school. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
In
sorry. I
high
was like,
school.
what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Water polo
Yeah,
team.
yeah. This is in high school when I was preparing for it. And Coach Swanson, who was the coach of the water polo team, because I went up to him, and I asked him, I was like, "Sir, do you mind if I, come in the mornings and swim? I'm preparing for buds or Navy SEALs, whatever." And as soon as I said that, he was like, "Okay." He's like, "But I'm not gonna let you stop swimming. If I see you stop in on the wall, I'm gonna get on your ass." And I was like, "Okay." So that's pretty much what it was. It's just I was swimming back and forth constantly. So I mean, needless to say, when I went boot camp, to me was a joke, and I actually wanted more of the beatdowns that we got, because I had some really nice RDCs or drill instructors. So we really didn't get beat a whole lot. Maybe twice that I can think of.
Hmm.
But anyways, and then when they asked for volunteers in boot camp of who wanted to join Buds or go for Buds, I was the first one in line. But as soon as they saw my BCGs, they were like, "Nope, you have to wait until you get that corrected." And I was like, "Well, my recruiter told me." He's like, "Yeah, that comes later. You can't do that now." So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but your drill sergeants can really make or break your army. Um, I had great drill sergeants, man. I had my drill sergeants were Drill Sergeant Finn and Drill Sergeant Avery. Rest in peace. Um, Again, he was a big old fucking like chiseled out of granite Ranger tab guy, and that guy, you know, that's what motivated me to take the path I took. Um, Flipping the script, when I was a drill sergeant, man, I had the greatest set of drills by my side everywhere. You know, you know, we there was nothing we couldn't do, man. We took those guys and we absolutely turned dudes that couldn't even do 12 push-ups into knocking everything out, knocking up, maxing out push-ups, man. And they were the greatest group of guys that I could ever ask to work with, to be a part of, to share that stage, that center circle with, and to call ourselves drill sergeants, you know, from everyone that was there, from, you know, first platoon, from Chris St. Ange to Sean Hilton to Brian Hooper, all the way to second platoon to Rafael Ventura to Justin. I can't remember his last name anymore. Uh, Low, Justin Lowe. There was a new guy. I don't really remember what his name was right before I got out, but you know, for a while it was just Lowe killing it by himself. The real fucking badass dude. To third platoon, to Dwayne Wall, myself, uh, Max Bonin. Dude, you see this man, 6'7", on the verge of 290 pounds, running a sub 6 minute mile.
What the
And it's a
hell?
fucking fridge that can outrun you.
It's a freak of nature,
He
man.
is fucking. Quick pause to that story that I'm telling you, but there was a story one time when I first got there. We went to go have a drills breakfast before we took our first cycle, and it was myself, a guy named McCullough. They ended up moving. Sean Hilton and Max Bonin was on our table, and we were gonna go have. We were gonna, you know, paying for. I was paying for McCullough's breakfast, and Sean was Hilton was paying for Bonin's. So we all order ourselves. You know, you're thinking when someone else is gonna pay for it, you don't want to go too crazy with it, man. We all ordered our stuff. Wasn't nothing too big, you know, because we're gonna go home after this. Bro, the order that fucking Bonin said was, dude, I can't remember exactly in detail, but it was like 4 fillets of fish, 12 eggs, um, 4 pieces of wheat toast, 8 slabs of bacon, and like a half a pound of grits. And I'm thinking, yeah, and all the orphan kids you got in the back too, you know, bring them shits out also so we can eat this. Because what the fuck? Hilton ended up paying like $80. And we were at Cracker Barrel. $80 in Cracker Barrel. And just for 2 people, I was like, holy shit. Hilton, you better go fuck Bonnet after this. You better go fuck him. Like, God, you better give it up or some shit, dude. What the fuck? All right, but again, Max Bonin, the fourth platoon, Ryan Fasano, badass fucking Italian dude. My one of my best friends, Miguel Diaz, still a good dude to this day. You know, those two guys going at it, and obviously McCullough was with them. Um, Dude, those were the greatest. Being led by First Sergeant Philip Sanchez at the time, you know that to me was an all-star team. I mean, we did everything. It was fucking awesome. I mean, dude, I
Yo,
remember
y'all
there
were real
was
close.
we were all of us were really good friends. We When we all went out for something, everybody went. Everyone went. It was, and now granted, we didn't go out to the bars or anything. You know, we were a lot smarter than that. Um, Plus, we couldn't really take Fasano out to a bar because he's that kind of drunk that once he gets too drunk, he'll start buying you shots.
Mm.
And in order for his wife not to get mad that he's throwing money down the drain, it was always better to just go do it at his house. And again, should we have gotten that crazy? And we all lived on post at the time. I mean, as drills, it was just more convenient for us to live on post and make it down there. And in Fort Benning or Fort Moore, what it's called now, um, drills have priority to live on post, and we have our own section of the housing, whether it's McGraw or McGrath or whatever the fuck it's called,
I always
or
want.
Patton Village, or McGraw Village, where you can stay.
So you live close by to like
Oh man,
the compound
I
area.
was literally like 2 miles away. I could walk to work if I wanted to. You know, I live 2 miles away from work. Sometimes I actually did run to work. I would go run in,
Yeah.
as a good warm up before we go do a 5 mile run, a company run, or sometimes a battalion run. Other guy, and I lived in McGraw Village. Other guys that lived in Patton Village, man, they were like 450 meters away. It's
Dang,
like
that's the one, huh?
just
Patton
walk.
Village,
Patton
huh?
Village is where you wanted to live, but it was highly, highly like sought after. Now it was just I got lucky that my battalion was the first battalion as you turn into. 354 was the very first battalion that you saw coming into Sand Hill, right? And obviously, the further you are, you keep going back to the battalions. There's some that you can still be in Patton Village. You're still like 6 miles away. If you're in McGraw Village like I was, and you're like at, let's say you were at like 119 in the fall, or I'm sorry, 258, man, you're like 7-8 miles away. It's still pretty far. It was
Yeah.
just lucky that since we were a brand new battalion stood up, we were the first ones there. Our footprint was right there. So
So the all the recruits or privates that you beat every day, they were all males.
yeah, I was in a strictly male only. There was, I, I think 2 battalions that were gender integrated. I believe it was 219 or 119, one of those two. I think it was 219. Yeah, it was 219 or 119. I can't remember. But and then the other one was 258, I believe. 258 and 119 were the ones that were gender integrated, but I didn't have any females. But I did have a lot of friends that I went to drill school, did have females. Who Some of the horror stories I would hear, they're like,
I
man,
was gonna say, yeah, it sounds like.
some of these girls stunk worse than guys.
I was gonna say though too. I bet when it comes to the integrated versus all male, it's probably easier to have the all males versus the integrated, right? As far as like
I would
crossing lines or whatever, or
I would assume so, right? Just because they teach you in drill school, there's your do's and don'ts. You got to treat everybody with respect and dignity. You cannot, belittle people. Back in the day when I was going through, man, I remember I must have got called a fucking dumbass or a paint eater 9 times a day. But it's just kind of how you take it. If a drill sergeant back in the day called me a dumbass, I didn't take that personally. I took that as motivation. It's like, oh, you think I'm a dumbass? Watch me. I'm gonna prove to you that I'm not a dumbass. Now, I did learn a lot of good things because I used to speak in slang a lot. Like, yeah, huh, use a lot of empty words. Yeah. To where my drill sergeant was like, it's yes, not yeah. It's yes, not yeah. So a lot of my vocabulary did improve with that. So I don't say words like yeah. I don't say words like
no,
huh.
no.
No, I don't do that. It's yes or no. And, something I still try to teach my children. Um,
So that one drill sergeant
it kind of like it
set the tone.
really laid out, and then
Yeah.
obviously as you go on through the ranks, your vocabulary kind of has to improve. You can't just have a limited vocabulary to where you're just using fuck. As versatile as the word fuck is, you can't put fuck 7 times in a 12 word sentence, right? Even though it could mean everything you want it to mean, it just can. You need to be able to have good army writing skills, right? And there's ways you can cheat about that. The army writer. obviously putting the words, finding a synonym with it, or to make you sound look smarter, but also make sure you know what you're trying to say and don't use words you have no idea what they mean, and you just insert them into a sentence thinking you sound smart, right? For example, the word narcissistic, which seems to be a big trend in today's society, that word gets thrown out way too much. And I bet you, if we were to go ask everyone that tells us or that we hear say the word narcissistic, and we ask them what's the definition of that word, none of them will give us the right definition because they don't know. They're using big words and they don't even know how to. They have no idea what the word narcissistic means. Again, this is my own personal belief. I honestly believe there's been a trend where someone just said, "Hey, narcissistic," and he does this, this, and this, and then everyone picked up on the trend, like, "Oh well, my ex does this, or my boyfriend or my husband is this," and so on and so forth. And now all of a sudden, narcissistic is like the new HIV. Everybody has it. Everyone's narcissistic, but
Yeah.
no one knows what the fuck it means, right? So I honestly do believe you. It's good to have a good sense of vocabulary to know what you're talking about and not just insert words that don't belong in that sentence, right?
Yeah.
So, but as opposed to like talking to females, I think common sense. Just don't cross the line. Don't don't talk in a way where you're given the perception for it to mean something else. And again, I'm lucky I didn't have to
Right.
do that. Um, but I mean, I know guys that there all the time got in trouble for it. I mean, that either they would do something that would cross the line knowingly, or just unknowingly they said something not meaning it, with today's generation being super butthurt about everything, and they end up crossing the line without meaning it, and they had to face some repercussion for that. But I mean, what I would tell people if they're in the military and they have faced some type of trouble is, don't be afraid. Like, of you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna have to face some adversity. You're gonna get knocked down. You're gonna get punched in the mouth, metaphorically or physically. Who knows?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
You know, you're gonna get punched down in the mouth. It's just a matter of get up, clean your mouth out, spit out the blood, and it's all about perseverance. It's all about resiliency. I got in trouble more times than I can think. You know, I got in trouble early in my career. Man, I must have not been. I must have just got to my first unit. Wasn't even more than 48 hours into the unit, and I already got in trouble. Now, it was some stupid. I still remember what it was. When I got to my unit, they had told me, I can't remember for how long it was. I remember I got there on a Friday. I don't remember if they said for the next 24, 48, or is it just the entire weekend, Friday through Sunday. I was not allowed to leave post. I was restricted to post. I don't remember how long it was, but for it didn't even matter. I didn't even listen. That same day I fucked up.
Yeah, because you left post.
Yeah. Well, no, it was the next day. It was a Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Why did you leave post?
For some reason, I had the overwhelming need to go buy brand new PT shoes. Coming in, I wanted my uniform. I got my brand new PT uniform. I want to be super spick, spickety spam. Wanted to make sure that I was good to go. Crisp uniform, crisp PT shoes. I didn't want to fucking bring the PT shoes that I had leading up to it getting there. They were all crusty and going. I wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
okay, because I mean, you put in a lot of miles doing everything you need to do to be able to get there, right? So there's a lot of training you're doing before you get there. If you don't buy extra shoes, your shoes are on the verge of dying out or blowing out. So for some reason, I had the overwhelming need to go buy brand new shoes. So I remember Friday, my platoon Sergeant Ski, and I can't pronounce his first name, so I just know it's Sergeant Ski. Told us, hey, you're restricted to post. You can go off post on Monday. I think it was like that. I can't remember how many days, but he said that I was restricted to post. I said I just can't remember if it was just that day or the next day. It must have been through the weekend because I went out the next day. And so I didn't go anywhere off post. And I mean, by that Friday, we got off pretty late anyways because we were doing some training. Saturday came around. I went to the chow hall, got my food, and to lunch also got lunch. And I started laying out my stuff, ready to go. I was like, "Oh, my PT shirt," and I mean, this is back in the day when we were still wearing the gray PT shirts and the pants, right? So I had that. We weren't wearing that. We were wearing something else, but I still had those. So I'm like packing all that shit away because I don't need that anymore. We got our own PT uniform we're wearing, so I'm getting everything laid out, make sure it's good to go. And I was like, you know what? I don't have fresh PT shoes. Let me go get some fresh ones. So in my mind, I thought, hey, if I just go out somewhere fast, near, I can come back without anybody finding
Like,
before they
ain't
know I'm
nobody
gone,
catching me.
without nobody knowing that I'm gone. In retrospect, I should have gone further out where no one could recognize me, no one could know where I'm at, and risk people not. I mean, no one was checking up on me. No one was like, "Hey, are you here still?" No one was doing that, but I had that fear that maybe somebody will come check up on me and to see if I'm here. Right? What if they say, "Hey, come meet me at whatever field," and if it takes me more than the time they give me, then what? So I thought, you know what? I'll just go somewhere right off a post. There is I think a place called Hibbett Sports. I can go buy PT shoes, literally, right? No more than like 300 meters outside the front gate. And man, I risked it, thinking I'll be in and out. No one will ever know. Boy, I ran into my platoon sergeant there.
Damn, I was gonna say
I
that.
ran
Tell me you
into my
ran.
platoon sergeant there, bro.
What did he say when he
I
saw
was
you?
on the verge of paying for my PT shoes. Not that he was following me. He was there to buy his son shoes too. And I mean, his son must have been like, I don't know, maybe 11, 12 years old, somewhere around there. And I was on the verge of paying. He's like, Deleon, oh, shit. It's like, oh, and my squad leader at the time was Sergeant Burkeen. It's like, oh, go ahead and go back. I'm gonna go ahead and let Sergeant Burkeen know. And I was like, fuck. So I paid. I did get my new shoes. Oh, but it came with a price.
Oh yeah,
Man,
you
Sergeant
you
Burkeen
paid more
came.
than just money that
Oh
day.
man, Sergeant Burkeen came and I got smoked, man, for hours. Hours. I remember that I must have got smoked for hours for a good amount. I had some breaks here and there. But I don't mean like 20, 30-minute breaks, like 10, 15-minute breaks, and boom, going at it again. And it's not like they left me alone. They watched me. That was like hours, man. Hours. Maybe like 3 hours. And I remember um I was drinking water and he was like, it must have been almost an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours into it already. And Sarmer King was like, hey, if you beat me at a sprint, I'll stop. He was already been smoking me for 2 hours.
Yeah, you're like, that's a
And I'm
tall
like, okay.
order.
I was like, okay, all I have to do is just beat him once in a sprint. I'm a fast sprinter. Way fast. And I've proven that during PT on Friday where we were sprinting. Boom, I dusted everyone. I was a fat. There was only one other person that was beating me. It was a dude named Mars. But that was the only one that could beat me in my platoon. Like, oh, this is easy. I'm gonna dust his ass. But it's a tall order, like you said, because I'm already tired. I got fucking. There was no way, bro. There was no way I was beating him. He was fresh. There was no way I could beat him, and it didn't happen. So it went on for another hour before he was like, okay, we're done.
How close were you at least in the sprint?
Nowhere near close.
Damn.
Nowhere near close. He had at least like a second and a half on me or so.
Oh shit.
No, it was nowhere near close. In my head I thought I was a lot closer than what I was, but I wasn't. I was nowhere near close. But I mean, I took it on the chin, and I realized that not more than 48 hours later, I broke the trust of guys that we needed to have trust with. And if they can't trust me to do something as simple as stay your ass on post, how are they going to trust me to go clear houses? How are they going to trust me to be in a room and take accurate shots, downrange on an insurgent who has a weapon at me or doesn't have a weapon at me? How are they willing to trust me to be like, can you make the right call in the theater when it really counts if you can't even do what we're asking you and do not leave post? And that became a big issue for them. Like, man, can we actually trust him?
So did they actually tell this to you?
Yeah,
Like,
they 100%. My team leader and my squad leader were there, and they told me, like, man, I don't even know if we can trust you. You just got here. And I was like, man, I'm going to earn your trust back. And I was like, man, we didn't even trust you yet. You came here. We don't even know you. We don't even trust you.
is
We
it
get to earn our trust. It made it harder for me to earn their trust, knowing that when I got there, they didn't trust me. They didn't know who I was. I was a person trying to prove to them that I am worthy. And with that fuck up that I made right off the rip, as simple as do not leave post this weekend, made it harder for me to earn their trust. Didn't matter how many PT events I won. Didn't matter how much praising I got from other people. Say, man, that dude's a PT stud. That dude is legit. All in the back of their minds is he doesn't listen to directions. So it made it harder for me, right? And then we got this guy named uh, Tyson Frazier, another solid guy on the team. He was maybe about a month after me. Solid dude. Fucking also an incredible person. And in a way, he kind of became my like nemesis because I would win some things, but he was the only competition in the E4 and below kind of world that compete with me in anything. And it didn't matter if I won. He always got the praising because I fucked up in the beginning and he didn't.
damn?
So it made it harder and it made me angry and it made me jealous and it made me envious. And I think that's what drove me to be like, you know what? Fuck this. I didn't want to quit. I didn't want to leave to a different place, be like, hey, fuck, I'm going to start over. It really made me grind harder and harder and harder. So when I did finally get promoted to E5, it was way above him. I made E4 before him. I mean, I got a waiver for it. So I got fast tracked. I was fast tracked the entire time.
So I guess that was a blessing in disguise then, because
It was a kick in the dick, right? So it was a kick in the dick to show like, hey, But I mean, I made mistakes along the way too. Luckily, nothing ever get me demoted, but I made mistakes along the way where I had to take it in the chin, spit the blood out. All right, let's go at it again. And it's all within learning, right? Nothing again. Thank God, nothing within that caused me to lose rank or anything. But yeah, mistakes were made. I've there's things that I probably should have handled a separate way, but it's all it is, and that's what I would want to stress to people is don't worry about your mistakes. It's how you bounce back from them. Yes, it's true. They only remember your last fuck up. It's 100% true. But it's how you come back that dictates and defines who you are as a person. If you're somebody that doesn't give up and you continue to go, that's how you do it. And I'm a big motivator to people. I try to be a motivator to people, try to motivate them to find their best inner self because if all else fails, if no one believes in you, I'll believe in you. And that's the way I go. It's like I mean, blessings to my wife. When I feel like no one believes in me, she believes in me, but damn it, that's all I fucking need. As long as she believes in me, I believe in me, and I was able to achieve everything I've ever wanted based off of her belief in me. She believed I could be great when I didn't believe I could be great. And that's all I needed. Her believing in me and made me believe in me. I didn't care if I had other people help me out or not. I was like, I got this. She believes in me. I believe in me. That's all I fucking need. So everyone, I think they should definitely try to find that someone to help you become the better version of yourself. If not, self motivation always works.
yeah, no, I feel you on that, man. And it's true, those. It's like you hear all these old sayings, what is it? Behind every great man is a great woman, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I definitely believe having a supportive spouse definitely strengthens you, especially in those times where you're doubting yourself.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
I
man.
mean, there's times where, man, I remember talking to you about this. There's times where I didn't even believe in God. You know, if God is real, why does all these bad things happen? Not that I was an atheist or anything. I just was a non-believer. And a certain situation happened that I was talking to you about that made me believe in God for real. And me and my buddy Steve Kosis, or Coaches, how you say it properly. Me and my buddy Steve Coaches are 100% live where God is real. And me and him should have died October 16th, 2012. But the grace of God, we didn't. We should
That's
have,
that firefight you were telling me about, right?
yeah, it was. We should have died. And I mean, ironically, he also just happened to text me too. And but yeah, I believe in God. Now, by no means now I say don't go to church all the time. I don't go to church, but I believe in God. But it's you definitely need somebody there to help you out. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, I believe in God too. But kind of like you, like my faith isn't it's wavering, you know what I mean? Cuz it's like what do we really know beyond this? We don't. Nobody, I mean, you could have the strongest faith that in God and everything, but we don't know 100% sure until we're dead
Yeah, that's
what's
true.
on the other side.
Like,
But on also I choose to believe at this point in my life I choose to believe in God and in Jesus because maybe it's because partly because of the way I was raised and also my experiences and miracles and I when people say that they don't believe in God I'm just thinking like okay well first of all we all know we can all agree that there's evil in this world.
100%.
And if there is evil in this world, there has to be good as well. It's like yin and yang. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
exactly.
It's like light and darkness. You know what I mean?
For
Like
sure.
you can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
So I choose to. I mean, when people tell me that they don't believe in God, I just feel like okay, well, you can go ahead and play dumb all you want, but for you, that's gonna be your whole thing when you pass. So I'm not gonna even go there. But for me, I believe, and I'm putting all my chips. I'm putting everything on the line with that belief, you know. And if it comes to pass where maybe these people that say there isn't a God or nothing happens after you die, if it comes to pass that that's how it is, I lose nothing. You know what I mean? But if what I'm saying is real and they're going in to the afterlife without anything on the line, or I mean without that belief, and they end up on the wrong side of that, that's on that's their eternity, and they chose that. But kind of just to get off my soapbox about that. Um, yeah, I would say that if people you know stop kidding themselves and just acknowledge what are like some things you can't explain like miracles, and then we can all obviously see like the other side of it too. There's and just what we see in nature. There's so many parallels that can show that there is God. Um, yeah, man. I mean, kind of with you on that. I'm with you on that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no,
Well,
no.
I
I'm
went
I'm
on.
actually listening to what you're saying because
Yeah.
I think that thing's a lot of validity to what you're saying. Me personally, I said I believe in God, but what is out there after we die? So don't know. To me, and again, this is just my own personal belief. This is heaven to me. Now, not everything's gonna be peachy dory or hunky dory or however that saying goes, right? It's not gonna be peachy, sunshines and rainbows. But what makes my life worth living is my wife. And being beside her, be having her next to me at every aspect in life is a blessing. I love it. It's just nothing I can't get away from, right? Not that I want to. I love having her around. I love having doing things with her. I love, you know, going and random ass adventures at the flea market. Like after this podcast, I'm gonna go have lunch with her, right? And it means a lot. So and the reason why I say this is heaven to me is because I get to share it with her. If I die first, which I honestly do believe I will die first, I won't have her. What's to say that when she dies, we will be reunited? I hear a lot of people say you'll be reunited. How do you know that for sure? I mean, yes, the Bible says whatever, right? But like, with all the bad things I've done in life, what makes it? I mean, I get it. If I could just repent, then you know, if I repent, then I should be able to go, right? But what's to say that we'll find each other? If it's an eternal greatness out there, what's to say we'll be able to find each other? So to me, this is my heaven, and I want to live out my heaven with my wife for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And because there's no guarantee, again, this is my personal belief. I don't want nobody to come after me like you don't know the Bible. Of course I don't. I don't read the Bible. But what's guaranteeing me that I will 100% reunite with my wife after I've been dead, or vice versa, or when we finally die and we meet. There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe in clairvoyance. I don't believe in psychics. Um, I don't fuck with Ouija boards, but I don't go and fuck around and try to call somebody with the Ouija board either.
Yeah.
You know, my kids do. They were trying to do some shit in the shed back there, and they got themselves locked in. But
Damn.
but I don't do that. I don't believe in that. I just know that, again, I can't be like, show me proof, right? It's just I rather join my life with my wife and my children now because there's no guarantee. And even with my children, right? Like I'm gonna be dead, they're still gonna be living for another 50 plus years. What's to say that they're gonna recognize my old wrinkle, or I'm gonna recognize their old wrinkle ass when they're dying too, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm just thinking logically. I could be flawed, but I don't know. Right? Like there's no saying. There's just no saying. So to me, what I'm living right now with my wife is the greatest gift I was ever given, and this is my heaven. So when I end up dying, or God forbid she dies, I'm gonna be 100 really really sad. You know, and there again,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that I'll be reunited with her again. Right? This
Cherish
isn't.
the moment, man. You
Yeah,
got the
this.
right mindset, man. You
You
do.
know, there's no. This isn't fucking Dragon Ball Z where we're floating around, you know, finding each other and shit. So it's just a matter of enjoy my life with my wife, do things that we want to do, and you know, enjoy each other's company because we're not young. Our fucking the sands of time is is on the downward spiral for us.
Hmm.
All right, we've done what we can. Now it's time for us to raise, let our kids fly out of the so-called nest and let them live their life. And it's our time to, start taking a step back as parents and allowing them to live their lives and start enjoying ours before, we're in a rocker and my wife's pushing around in a wheelchair, or whatever,
Hmm.
telling her like, yo, give me my back brace so I can give you the best 10 seconds of your life or whatever.
Yeah. Popping them blue chews. No.
Oh, I think I got one more. But it's just that kind of stuff, man. And like I said, I wish, before I go into that, let me ask you a question. It kind of goes back to this. How were you able to cope with getting out?
How am I able to cope with getting out? Well, since I got out earlier than you, a lot earlier, I did 6 years, exactly 6 years. And it's funny when you were talking about how, after you did your first six, right, and then you re-enlisted for your next six. I remember I was on my first deployment, and I was talking with one of my Marines, Gonzo, and he was telling me because when he got back, he was getting out because he was already coming up to his 4 years or whatever, and he had said something that will forever stick in my mind. He said, "Hey Doc, what did he say? He said, the brave Marine is the one that gets out and doesn't stay in, or something like that, something to that effect." And he was like, "Do you know what I mean by that?" And I was like, "I completely get what you're saying." He's like, "Okay, what am I saying?" And I was like, what you're saying is when you get out, it's nothing is guaranteed again, because right now we got everything taken care of, right? We got what we eat is paid for, where we're staying paid for, benefits, medical, free medical, all that stuff. We're paid, like we're taken care of. Like we don't have to worry about any of that. But when you get out, you got to go back to the civilian way of thinking, which is I could be on the street, you know what I mean? Like if I don't get the shit together, and for the X amount of years that you've been in the military, you didn't have to worry about that. Now you have to start worrying about that, and it can be, it can create a lot of anxiety and a lot of vets getting out. And for me, yeah, it was kind of there too. I was a little bit more optimistic, and I think that's also why. Well, honestly, when I got out, when I made the decision to get out, I was at a point in my life where one, I wanted to just break away from completely from what I was doing, which was the corpsman, the combat medic thing, just because I felt like it was starting to impact my mental health. It was very stressful,
Hmm.
and felt like it was like an immense amount of responsibility on my shoulders, which I was able to, you know, kind of just find a way to just like take it to the end. You know what I mean? Of those two deployments, and then because I didn't even want to do the second deployment, I was trying to avoid that shit if I could. Because when I did the first deployment, I was like, okay, yeah, let's go fucking get some. And when we did get into that firefight, and then my staff sergeant's foot got blown off and all that stuff, I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm good because I feel like yeah, that's the way it usually goes. Is like guys that want to go to war have never really been to war. I've never seen it, and I feel like once you do, it changes you.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I must have heard, oh man, hundreds of kids talk about like, oh, I can't wait to shoot a motherfucker in the face.
Yeah,
And I just laughed. It was like, man, it's a lot easier said than done. You know, um, again, this is my personal experience to my personal opinion. I think when you have a strong mind and the ability to compartmentalize what you're doing as a job and try to separate that from who you are, you have a much greater success at continuing to do your job. Not to say that it's not going to fuck you up. 100% it will. It'll change you. War will change you. Seeing your friends die in front of your face will change you. Seeing your friends getting blown up will change you. Seeing a friend get turned to pink mist will change you. It's you are not going to be the same person. You know, me died my first deployment. I tell my wife all the time, who I am today is was a person that was bred out of necessity, not out of want.
that's true.
I needed to be this person to do my job. The backside of it is that it's not necessarily a very tolerable person. Now, I don't mean tolerable with like my wife doesn't tolerate me. I do not tolerate money. I
Yeah,
don't really tolerate people much more anymore.
right. A little bit more irritable.
I'm very irritable. Now, I try my best not to be irritable with my wife. And for the most part, she doesn't really get me mad. I mean, she gets me confused more than anything.
Mhm.
You know, she confuses me because whether she likes to admit it or not, she speaks in tongue. But I think that's all women. All women speak in tongue in riddles.
Making sure you were still on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't
So I
see that
think she
part.
speaks, and she speaks in riddles, and she says she doesn't, but she does, and I get confused all the time. And I think she does that to get a laugh out of me, and that's fine, you know. But other people, I don't tolerate the ridiculous diarrhea that comes out of their mouth, and I just it's just not something that is, I mean, well sought after, not look well in the workforce. Um, and I mentioned that, and I asked you, how did you take it? Because I always, not that I get a kick, I always ask people, how'd you take it? To see if it differs from mine. Because for me, it was more, I felt like like my identity was stripped. Like I had nothing. I gave you guys everything I could.
That's exactly how it feels, yeah.
Everything I could. And for instance, now trying to get my disability, it's almost like everything I did for you guys, everything you asked me to do, and you guys want to shortchange me.
It's like
Oh,
they.
but when you wanted me to go and fucking shoot everyone in the face, go all those dangerous places, do all these patrols, conduct all these raids, you know, do all these presence patrols, do all these movement of contacts. Oh, you were quick for it. But when it's time to compensate me for what I did, or at least give me what's fair, it was so it's such a hassle. Now, granted, again, do I have some fault in it? Of course. I mean, I'm sure you heard the whole, hey, real men don't go to sick call. Do you guys used to call it sick call?
Yeah.
You know, like real men don't go to sick call. You know, learn the difference between what you're in pain. Well, I'm sorry, when you're in pain and when you're injured. Being injured and being in pain are two separate things. You can work through pain. You can't work when you're injured, right? So I took that to heart. I never went to sick call.
Yeah, I think that's just the blanket for most of the, well, I would definitely say like the infantry units, the guys in the front lines. I can't really speak for like the people in garrison. I would say in garrison because I did work with a support unit for my first duty station, and that seemed to, we definitely got a lot of people that came in just for every little thing. But definitely on the front lines, yeah, it was, you didn't want to be labeled as a malingerer.
Yes, that term
Mhm.
really rings a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and it can absolutely infuriate some people if you get accused of being that. That's, man, it's almost worse. It's almost worse, especially in the military and the infantry units.
Hmm.
It's almost worse to get called. I'm sorry. It's almost better to get called a murderer than to get called a malingerer. You know, like shit. Call me a murderer or something. Don't call me
Hmm.
a malingerer.
Yeah.
It's almost it's worse to get. At least for me, it was. I'd rather get called a fucking baby killer than a fucking
Yeah.
malingerer.
Yeah. Fair. That's fair.
You know, I wouldn't want to. I'm not that. I can work through pain. I can work through being injured. But at the back end, I only fuck myself, right? So coming out, and I'm thinking like, ah, man, I don't know who I am anymore.
Hmm.
I'm just a shell of myself. I look at videos of myself when I used to be. I look at my drill hat upstairs. You know, I looked at all my uniforms, and I see what I used to be like, and then I look myself in the mirror now to what I am now, and I mean, even to this day, man, I still just see a shell of what I used to be.
So let me fully answer your question there of how I coped with it, because I felt those exact same things too, but I guess I felt them in a faster speed. Or I don't know. You've been out for how long? A couple years?
Just over 2 years already.
Okay, so it'll pass. But for me, okay, because when I got out, I immediately enrolled in college and I started going to college. And I just remember that I was always like, whenever they would do the self introductions or the first day of school, for that first maybe 2 semesters, I was telling everybody, "Oh yeah, I'm a vet, Iraqi vet, whatever." Just real like full of myself, right? Kind of like I wanted everyone to blow me.
Yeah.
But then I quickly realized nobody gives a shit. Whoever you were before, like Okay. So then I was like, all right, that kind of hurts, but yeah. And then I just had to kind of just, what I told myself was, okay, who I was in the military, that's a different life now. Like I have to move on from that. But was it easy? No. My transition was very tough. The first job I had outside of the military was Jack in the Box. Fucking Jack in the Box, bro. Cashier, like drive through cashier. Working like nights. Like seeing these drunk motherfuckers pull up and order fucking jumbo jacks and tacos, dude. Like it was it was a very humbling experience. And I feel like even till up until recently, my time outside of the military has been a very, very humbling experience. I mean, I was cleaning toilets before we're doing what we're doing now.
Hey man, but everything comes around full circle. The same thing. Um, it's just once you find your. I was told by plenty of people, once you find your second army or something that makes it feel like, or your second navy for your particular choice, you'll find it. And I thought I had found it where we're at now, up until recent events happened where obviously it's starting to go the opposite way, and everyone's starting to feel a little bit of tension there. But
Well, it doesn't have to be over.
it
It can
doesn't
just
have
be.
to
It's
be
just a
over. No,
blip.
you're right. It's just all political right here, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's just
but
right
it's just a
now.
matter of when you find your second military. I think life will start getting better, man. But that's why I keep my circle small on who I consider friends, who I invite people over. I mean, I don't invite any. I mean, to be honest, you're the first person I invited since I got out. Nobody else been to my house.
Hey,
Nobody.
nobody's been in my apartment outside of my wife's clients and her family members.
Like,
Not even my own family has been to my apartment. Maybe outside of like 3 times.
yeah,
So I mean, I get it. And
and
it's I
it,
don't know. Maybe that's coming with things that we're dealing with that the military gifted us. But
is yeah, you're right. It's just a bunch of things that we have to get used to, and I'm sure this wave will pass too, that I'm feeling. But I always like to hear it just because sometimes mine, I feel like,
you're not alone, man.
yeah, I
You're not
know.
alone.
I like to feel that like I'm not alone or anything. Man, this was an awesome podcast. It was, man. I really do thank you for inviting me on and want to have me on, and just tell a little bit of my story about what happened.
Yeah, we'll do this
Uh,
again. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Bull Spitting Podcast, also known as the BSP. I want to thank my friend Alfred DeLeon here for joining us today. I'm sure you'll be seeing him again, so it feels good to be back. Anything you want to say to the audience out there?
Again, thank you for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Catch you next time.